We're ready. Okay. Well, good morning. I'll call the March 11th, 2020 meeting of the Staff Hearing Officer to order. We have a couple preliminary matters. Do we have any requests for continuances, withdrawals, postponements, or addition of ex-agenda items?
No, we do not.
Okay. I don't believe there's any announcements or appeals, none that I'm aware of. And then I don't believe we have any members of the public here to address the staff hearing officer for the item that is not on the, for any items not on the agenda. I believe you're all associated with the item on the agenda, so I'll close that general public comment and go to item 2 on the agenda, which is the application of Dale Pekarek, architect for Jennifer and Robert Conroe at 476 Braemar Ranch Lane. If you'd like to come up, and the staff will give a brief presentation, and then I'll ask if you want to add anything or elaborate on any aspect of the project that wasn't covered. So take it away.
Okay. Good morning, Ms. Brooke. My name is Danny Cotto, Senior Planner. I'm substituting in today for Michelle Bedard, who is the case planner. The project before you is a proposal to approve an as-built palapa in the front yard of a house over in the Braemar neighborhood. To orient you to the site, we'll look at the site plan. The site boundaries are in yellow here. The setback line is in blue here, and it's 35-foot setback and from the front and 15 from the side. In yellow here is the outline of the as-built palapa. Basically, anything from this point forward is considered the front yard, and accessory buildings, and a palapa is considered an accessory building. They're not allowed in the front yard by right. So that's what the proposal is for, modification to allow that in the front yard. It is an as-built structure, and so this is the floor plan here. Basically, it's like a thatched roof palapa you'd find in Mexico, right, or Asia. And it's basically some posts holding up a fireplace, some counter space, and
pizza oven.
And a pizza oven. Great. Okay. Just to orient you a little bit more to the site, we have a little aerial photo, and here south is on this side, north is up there, and. Wait a minute, sorry.
Cliff Drive is here.
Yeah, this is a Cliff Drive. I'm all confused now, sorry. So this is, it was totally opposite.
There's the site.
Okay, this is north, south, Cliff Drive. This is the Braemar Ranch neighborhood, and this is the site right here. Here. Thank you, sorry. And then the palapa is this little red thing right there. And then a few other photos. This shows the front entrance with some high hedges at the front lot line. I'll be talking about that in a sec. And then this shows the palapa. So this is the front of the main house, and then here's the thatched roof palapa. And a few interiors. Okay. Okay. So it is in the coastal zone. There is It has been determined that it qualifies for a coastal exemption, not a coastal development permit, and that will be taken care of, or well, that will have to be submitted and taken care of through the building permit process. That's the normal thing. There is, like I said, on those photos I was showing you, there's some overheight hedges and overheight fence and gate in the front area. Those are subject to, first of all, the fence is subject to design review, and that has been submitted and scheduled. The gate is closer than 20 feet to the pavement. That's been reviewed by transportation, and they'll be giving a waiver for that distance. And the overheight hedge and fence needs an administrative exception in Title 28 of our code. So that will have to, there's a condition that be applied for and approved prior to, well, actually the condition doesn't say, but it should be prior to the issuance of a building permit. Okay. Size-wise, I didn't say, but this gazebo is 391 square feet. So we reviewed this. I mean, honestly, it's fairly innocuous. It's a nice looking structure. It's not subject to design review. This is an area that is not well traveled in the city. It is behind this high hedge. And staff reviewed it. We recommend that you approve the project, making the findings that are in the staff report. Basically, it's consistent with the purpose of the intent of the ordinance. It will not detract from the single-family residential environment and the modifications necessary to secure. We believe this to be appropriate, and the modifications necessary to allow that appropriate improvement. That concludes my staff report. I'm here for questions.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any questions for staff right now, so if the applicant would like to introduce yourself and offer any other information.
I'm Dale Pekarik from the Fine Line. I'm here with the owners, Robert and Jennifer Condro. And once again, Danny laid out exactly what we're doing here. We have a palapa that was built several years ago, and now we're formally trying to get it approved through the process. And because of its location on the property, the palapa is set back quite a ways from even the normal setback, and the hedging and the shrubbery around it blocks it from anybody's viewpoint. Along the front of the property, we have recently trimmed the hedges down to a 6 foot, which is at the top of the fence. We will be going before the review, I believe it's the SB.
Single-family design board.
Single-family design board on this coming Monday to get all that corrected and straightened out and approved, as well as the fence. And we had the fire marshals out there, as well as public works to look at the gates and et cetera. So everybody is on board and everybody's reviewed it. Now we're just going through the formal process of getting everybody to approve it and get a building permit ultimately.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I do want to open public comment for this item, and I don't believe there's anybody who wanted to speak at the hearing on this item. I did receive some correspondence via email that was forwarded to me from Lori Rafferty, Spencer Seal, and Karen Rabin, and Debbie and Danny Babai, who were all expressed support for the application. I forgot I did have one question for staff, because part of the staff report mentions that if there were to be approved and then submitted for plans for a building permit, that it would abate an enforcement case. And I was curious as to how this came about. Do you know how this came to our attention, the as-built nature of the structure, or maybe the applicant knows?
I don't know, but maybe the applicant
I
does.
don't know about the enforcement case, maybe because it's in the setback. That's the only thing in the front yard, I should say. But all others abide by it. I can't think of anything
The
else.
reason, okay, maybe the owner knows. The reason I ask is because it says that this would abate it. It doesn't mention that there's any other aspect of the property that's out of compliance, I mean, other than what we've talked about with the fence and hedge. So I was just curious if there were if I needed to condition this in any other way to make sure that the other aspects of the enforcement case were. Do you mind coming up? Sure. Just come up and state your name for the record, and then that'd be helpful. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Conroe. My husband and I own the property.
Okay.
And when we actually built the gazebo palapa, we didn't actually think that it even needed a permit. And so then we found out years later that it did. So it was actually me
Oh, okay.
that contacted Dale to try to get that
Oh, okay.
as-built permit.
After the fact. Okay, thank you. That clears that up. If that was the one reason, then that's why that one permit would clear that up. Okay, let's see. So I had that question, and thank you, Mr. Cotto, for mentioning that they've already submitted for single-family design board review for the fence. So the palapa itself does not actually require design review. Interestingly enough, the elements in the front setback, because the fence is over 3.5 feet, that requires design review. And then there's the outstanding request that the Community Development Director and Public Works Director would need to review and consider the request for the overheight aspect of the fence and the hedge and the along the front property line. So I toured the neighborhood Monday and saw what you showed here on the aerial photo, and I think what was expressed in either the letter or the staff report about how this particular area has a fair amount of detached structures, whether they're garages or other accessory structures. I noticed that when I was driving through, and many of them you can't see because there are overheight hedges or fences or walls, and I don't know the legality of all those, but the properties are large, so when the accessory structure is in the front yard, it's not imposing and doesn't detract from the otherwise pretty low density nature of this neighborhood. So I'm comfortable with approving the location of the structure in the front yard. It does meet all the setbacks. Because there hasn't been a decision yet made on the appropriateness and aesthetics of the fence or the hedge, I'm not basing my decision on that, because if I were, then I would have said that decision should have been made first, and I thought about that, because if I felt like that was the reason why, because it's not visible, because there's this overheight element, then I think this would have been done out of order. But I can still make the findings to approve the accessory structure in the front yard because of just the general lot size of this area, of lot sizes in this area, the fact that there are many detached structures in the front yards in this area. So I do have some suggested changes to the findings I'd like to make to just clarify how I came to my determination. So I'll read my findings. I can find that the front yard modification is consistent with the purposes and intent of the zoning ordinance and is necessary to secure an appropriate improvement on the lot. The accessory structure is appropriate on this site as it is incidental to the primary use as a single unit residence. The accessory structure observes all required setbacks, is located a sufficient distance from the public right-of-way, and will not detract from the residential environment of the low-density area. And I did want to clarify the timing of the condition, which Mr. Cotto mentioned verbally too, that this approval is subject to a condition that the applicant submit an application for an administrative minor exception to be considered by the Community Development Director and Public Works Director for exceptions to fence and wall standards prior to the issuance of any permit for the project. And I can't condition my approval on their approval because I don't know the outcome of that, but I can condition that you at least submit an application for that. And because my decision is not dependent on the outcome of the height or aesthetic nature of the fence and wall, I'm fine doing that. Again, if that were going to be a defining factor in my findings, I would have asked that have already gone to SFDB. But so with this timing, I'm comfortable with approving the project with the findings that I read today and then that one condition. So with that, you have an approved project. And this decision is subject to a 10-day appeal period, and within that same period, the Planning Commission could call up my decision, and if that happens, then staff would let you know. Okay.
Just want to let you know, we were tentatively scheduled for this previous Monday, and we were not noticed.
Okay.
So neither the owner nor myself were noticed. So they gave us a call and said, where are you? And we're going, where are we where?
Oh, okay.
And we're going, and I said, well, continue us till next Monday.
Oh, I see.
Because the issues that you were speaking of could have been resolved if we had been noticed.
Okay.
And
Well,
we would've
thank
been
you. I
there.
wasn't aware of that, so I
Yeah,
apologize
so
for
we're
that.
just
because
like,
that,
okay.
Okay. That
We
would
did
have
have
been
everything in
helpful.
order, but we didn't get any noticing.
Know about it.
Okay, I apologize for that on behalf of the city. But so you'll be on the SFDB agenda next Monday, and then need to just submit your application for the
Okay,
encroachments into the setback.
okay, that's after we get approval from the SFDB?
I think Mr. Cotto can answer the timing questions for you after the hearing, if that's okay.
Okay, that'd be
Okay,
perfect.
so I'll close this item and then also adjourn the meeting at the same time.